Shamir, I want you to hit these as hard as you can. Shamir, one thing on your forehand that's concerning to me, and we did talk about this last time when we covered the high forehand.
Yeah.
You get a sufficient lag on your forehand,
Okay.
meaning that you go to about right here. But this whole part of the stroke where you go down into the drop and before you start going forward looks slow to me. It doesn't look whippy enough. It doesn't look explosive enough. You have developed a lot of comfort with that type of take back because when you first learned to play tennis, you literally learned to go here and then here and then here. Show me again how you learned the forehand. How was it?
That was, when I first started, it was, so he would tell me to hold it like the throat.
Yeah.
And then like here, he would say drop down here, step in, lift it, and go like this.
And literally in segments where you were pausing in each step, right?
Yeah, like he'd want me to do it one motion, but yeah, generally that was the thing. He said go like this, with the knuckles up, and then he said go drop all the way here, and then go push and go like this.
So I think because you learned like that, some of that is still in your forehand. I'm not saying that your forehand is not continuous, it is.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit slow in this very important part, which is that racket drop and the lag. Right about the time when you start going forward, it's a little bit slow. And also when I feed you or when I hit with you, I can see that part of the forehand very clearly.
Okay.
And I shouldn't be able to. It should be more whippy. It should be a lot faster. I would like to make a few adjustments. This racket that you play with is very heavy.
Yeah.
And unless you have a super fast arm, I think you're gonna benefit from increasing your swing a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so slide over here so you can see exactly what I want you to do. So your forehand is like this. You drop it in this slot right here.
Okay.
So I want you to think about the orientation of your strings on your take back.
Okay.
So you're gonna take the racket back until it goes towards the middle of the back fence when you're standing in the middle of the court. So the strings are going to be going towards the middle of the back fence and you're just going to drop it from here. What will naturally happen is a bigger swing, number one, and also a tad higher swing. And when that happens, Shamir, those two things combined, more time for you to accelerate. I think the racket is going to whip a little bit further behind.
So I'm going to get better
and
lag.
now naturally we're going to get more range of motion and more effortless power. So let's try this out, okay?
Okay.
I want to drop feed you.
Wait, so before so it's not only like before I was to the side, so now you want me to be like further back.
Exactly. So before you were going to the side here,
yeah.
Now I want you to focus on the middle of the back fence, right there.
Okay.
The strings being pointed towards there. This is how Wawrinka hits the forehand.
So it's like a bigger loop.
It's not necessarily a bigger loop. A loop is this part right here. Hold the racket, loop is this. So you don't need to heighten the loop.
Oh, okay.
You're just going to keep the racket up longer. Instead of dropping it here, you're going to continue back.
Got it.
And the racket's going to be higher.
Okay.
So we're going to have more room to play with when we drop.
Okay.
It's going to be a bigger radius, more space to work with.
All right, let's experiment.
I want you to look at me.
Okay.
And take your racket back.
The old one?
All the way. No, the new one. Take your racket back. A little bit more. There you go. And again, racket towards me, ready position. Take your racket back. One more time.
That wasn't
racket towards me. Yeah, that was good. Good. One more time. Okay, that's perfect. Take it back just like that.
The strings are facing the camera.
Exactly.
Okay.
Remember, orientate the strings towards the middle of the back fence. Good. So far, I like what I'm seeing, Shamir. I feel the new forehand, it just gives you a little bit more room to accelerate. And you're getting more speed on it. But let's keep testing, okay?
Okay.
I want you to alternate between the new forehand and the old forehand. So start with the old one. New forehand. Okay, new forehand again. Let me show you. We're going to orientate the strings towards the middle of the back fence. And the racket tip is going to be up towards the sky.
Higher. Okay.
There you go. And you just drop it from there. That's the old one, right?
Yeah, old one, yeah.
New? Old.
Okay.
New. Old. New. just new forehands. Come on. Again, all new. Come on. Again.
Sorry.
Again. Again. All right, old forehand. Old forehand. New forehand. Old forehand. New forehand. Old forehand. New forehand. Okay, Shamir, I'm going to feed you now. Same thing. Take the racket back just a tad further. Racket tip up, strings towards the middle of the back fence. Take a break. That's it. Show me again. Perfect. Very nice. Show me the old forehand. Old. Old. New. Come on. Tip of the racket up. Strings towards the back fence. Good. I like it a lot. Shamir, I think there's a big difference between this forehand and the old forehand.
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely more pop. It looks more effortless to me. You're getting a lot more power for sure. Now, interestingly, before I could very easily see your lag, okay? Because that part of the forehand was slow.
Okay.
Okay? Now, I'm having a harder time seeing it, and that's good news.
Okay.
And it appears that the lag is a little bit bigger than it was before. I think now it's to about right here. Before it was like this, and in some instances it would even be like this. So not only have you increased the racket drop and you're getting a little bit more momentum from that, you're also increasing the range of motion when you're going forward towards the ball naturally, because you're not thinking about that part of the forehand. So for that reason, it sounds bigger, it is bigger, and I think it's the way to go for the future.
Yeah, it feels comfortable for me. I feel like I have easy power. Like it just, because I'm a little bit higher, the racket just kind of comes down, and I feel like I have that momentum helping me with the shot. So
it's very important how it feels to you, and it's not that big of an adjustment.
No,
because it's happening in the slow phase of the forehand. The only adjustment you're making is instead of going like this, you're going like this. So the racket is moving very slowly when you're doing these adjustments. So for that reason, you can do this pretty much on every forehand with ease.
Yeah.
If you just keep your focus on it. Of course, when you play matches, a whole nother story. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
You don't really want to think about technique. But in practice, to build the right muscle memory, just think you're not going to see the back fence. You're going to be looking at the ball, but just orientate the strings towards the back fence, get the feel for this position of the racket, and then you just let it go from there, and naturally you're going to get more power.
Okay. And the balls that you said that come with more pace, if I don't have as much time, I can do the old forehand.
Of course. Serve. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
When you get a ball where you have absolutely no time, for example, somebody blasted at you flat and long on the baseline, or maybe return of serve, or maybe you're running at a low ball, you barely get into it, you're going to abbreviate things. You're not only going to shorten the length of your takeback, you're also going to shallow out your loop. So you're not going to go like this necessarily if you had a big loop.
Right.
So this is universal for all players. When there's less time, there has to be abbreviations, not only in the swing, but also in the amount of turn that you're making. Everything becomes more compact and smaller when there's less time.
Got it.
Now, that's going to happen naturally, because the opposite of that is you taking a huge loop or taking the racket very far back and meeting it late, and you're like, oh, wow, you know.
Yeah.
I was late on that shot, so the adjustment is you shorten it. But now in the next progression, there might be some of those circumstances, because I want to rally with you and see how your forehand holds up when we hit back and forth.
Okay.
And I also want to feel your ball on my racket to see if it's heavier and bigger.
Let's do it. This will be interesting to see.
All right, let's go.
Oh, yeah.
Big. That's big. Nice. Nice job, Shamir. Very big. Big. Big, Shamir. Big. That's huge, Shamir. Huge. That is so humongous, Shamir. I've never seen you hit forehands that big. I want to do a drill now where you hit 2 forehands, one from the middle of the court, one from the backhand side, and focus on getting the tip of the racket a little bit higher. Again. 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 Shamir, it's bigger. You missed that one wide a little bit, but the one, but it's definitely bigger. Shamir, it's 250. When did we start?
Like 12:30-ish.
So 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's insane.
The
Unfortunately, the camera didn't capture a lot of incredible forehands that you were hitting. It overheated and it was out for about 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But this was one of the most impressive practices that I've ever seen.
Nice.
And I am so amazed that you were able to adapt to this new forehand. Shamir,
yeah.
Let me recap.
Yeah.
Before, your forehand was like this, here, here, right. Which is not the end of the world. You had a sufficient lag. The racket was going far enough back where the tip of the racket was pointing straight towards the back fence.
Right.
Nothing wrong with it, but I always had the impression that this part of the forehand was somewhat slow. There was not a lot of whip there. So now by taking the racket back a little bit further and orientating the strings towards the back fence,
yeah.
When you drop it from here, you're creating more whip. You're creating more whip. And I'm telling you, we have to check the footage, but
yeah.
It appears to me that the racket is lagging just a tad more behind.
Yeah.
And it's also the fact that I can't see the lag as clearly as I was seeing it before. It means there's more speed in that part of the stroke.
Okay.
And just going by feel,
yeah,
the sound of the ball is different. I'm feeling the ball bigger on my racket. I'm having a harder time controlling my backhand when you're hitting it.
Okay.
And towards the end, you got a little bit tired, so the speed went away. But initially,
yeah,
when we adjusted this take back and when we were doing drills and hitting, I think only one camera was on, the other one overheated. In that part of the practice, it was some of the best forehands that I've ever seen you hit. And
nice.
You continued to hit them quite well towards the end. So
yeah,
I can't believe that you were able to adjust to this take back. Now the question is this going to stay with you when you play points?
Yeah.
I don't know. You say, yeah, I don't know. We have to see. You have to just be cognizant of this when you're practicing and hitting. Just focus on this. Just take this as the only thing you're working on the next practice is adjustment in your take back. And the two things that we get as a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the high balls that we worked on last time. Now I think it's going to be easier for you to adjust the height of the take back.
Yeah.
Because your racket drop, call it tap the dog, whatever it is, was present on all forehands. If it was high or low, not necessarily wrong, but it was very tedious for you to make power. So now the high ball can improve, but generally balls that don't have as much pace, this is where you're going to gain a big benefit from this. And you're going to be able to dictate points. And on top of everything that I said, I think it also suits the perceived age that you love so much.
Yes.
I think you're going to be able to accelerate through the year easier because think about it, that short take back that has a little bit of a slowdown here, you have such a heavy racket, it's hard for you to make it go from here and to create whip when the racket is so heavy. Now, actually the fact the racket is heavier and you're coming from a higher place, it's a little bit easier to create whip for you.
I just let the racket do the work.
Very good, Shamir.
Yeah.
All right, man. You're exhausted, aren't you?
I'm very exhausted.
Very good job, man. Now, did I hear you right? You told me you can't surf for 6 months.
I'm
What?
Yeah, probably like I'm giving myself at worst case scenario 6 months.
Shamir.
But I'm working on my forehand, my backhand, my
You have the worst luck with injuries.
Yeah, well, I'm getting old, you know.
What?
35.
Are you 35?
Yeah, 35.
That's not old. Give me a break.
I know, but I'll
You're
be
still
okay.
in your prime.
I'll recover. I've got my
Djokovic
excuse.
is older than you. Remember that.
I know.
So
what excuse do I have?
yeah, I like your attitude. You're getting better and you continue to work
Yeah.
despite not being able to hit serves. But
Yeah.
you know, last year you set yourself on a great path where you were training a lot, playing tournaments, winning tournaments.
Yeah. I'll come
And
back.
then came the injury, so it's just a little setback. But
Yeah.
you keep working. Once the shoulder heals,
Maybe in like 3 or 4
right
months,
back
I might be back.
All right.
So
Sounds good.
thank you, Nick.
Good
Great
work,
lesson.
man. Good work.